Hey class. So one thing that I noticed in the last projects is the difference in sequence settings. A lot of people, their video was smaller than their actual screen, and people were asking me how to fix that. So if I want to look at my existing sequence settings, I need to go up to sequence settings, and it will tell me here what my sequence settings are. So currently it's 1920 by 1080, and this is the audio rate right here, which you don't really need to worry about too much. So if you shot the video in 720 and this is at 1920, the video is going to be smaller than the actual screen. Okay, so in order to fix that, what you're going to do is, if your footage is already in, you can control click on the footage, and then you can go to scale to frame size, and that will scale it up. So that was one thing that I did notice. Now the other question that I got was, how do I fade audio out? So if I go to effects and I type in fade, I should get this. It says exponential fade. So if I click on that and drag it over and put it at the end, you'll see it highlights there. Now, if I zoom in a little bit to this, you'll see that my exponential fade is right there. And I can actually click and move it over around as much as I want, depending on how much I want it to fade or how little I want it to fade. So that's one thing. The next thing is, I noticed that a lot of the videos were just starting right in without a fade in or fade out of the video. So if you want to click on the effects and go to dissolve, you can click right here where it says dip to black. So if you put this at the end of your video, it's going to go to black. If you put it at the beginning of your video, it will fade into black. It will fade in from black. So if I click it here, okay, and I drag it over to the beginning of my footage, you see it highlights it there, and now it's going to fade into the picture. Okay, and I can, again, I can move this in, I can move it out depending on how much fade I want. If I want to delete it, I can just click on the effect and delete it, and it won't affect my clip. One thing you noticed is that when I dragged it over, this top bar turned red. What that means is that the video is not rendered. So if I want to render it, I just have to push enter, and it will actually process the video so that I could see a real uh, real time preview of what's going to happen. Okay, now my sequence settings. If I want to have everybody in the class create the same sequence settings, what you need to do is you can go to File, New, Sequence. That will bring up this window right here. Okay, now you notice currently I'm at digital SLR 1080p, DSLR 1080p 24. That's because I shot this footage in 24 frames per second. I was going for a more film type look. Normally what we would do is go to digital SLR 1080p 30. So you have to make sure that you use this sequence setting for your projects. That's it. Hopefully that tip helps real quick, and on to the next project.